I ruined my own marriage. Hello, True Story. My name is Tamarin, and I'll be completely honest with you. I've only known about your channel for about 3 days now. I stumbled across it late one night while I was scrolling through YouTube, half asleep, with my laptop balanced on my knees. I saw a title that caught my attention, something about a man's wife cheating and him walking away. I clicked it thinking, okay, let me see what this is all about. To my surprise, I ended up watching 3 videos back to back. Then, before I knew it, I had binged for hours. I had no idea something like this existed on YouTube. I genuinely didn't. It feels like a corner of the internet that women like me weren't supposed to know about, because now that I've seen it, I can't stop thinking about my own situation and how my story fits in with some of the things I've heard men share. I want to be upfront before I go any further. I ruined my marriage, not my husband, not society, not bad luck. Me, I did. And I live with that every single day. I do have empathy for the men that write into you. When I listen to them, I can actually feel their pain, their betrayal, their confusion. It's weird because years ago, my ex-husband used to listen to something kind of similar, except it wasn't on YouTube. It was this audio series, I think it was on SoundCloud, where men would share their stories of being cheated on, lied to, divorced, left behind. I used to walk past his office at home and hear this guy's voice coming out of his speakers. He was a graphic designer, so he'd work long hours at his desk, and he'd have that playing in the background. He would sometimes share episodes with me. He'd come into the kitchen, all serious, and say, "Listen to this one, Tamarin. You won't believe what this guy went through." And I would nod, half listen, maybe laugh at some of the funnier parts, but mostly brush it off because it all felt so sad, so heavy. I didn't want that energy. I used to think, thank God that's not my life. I'd never do something like that to him. We're solid. I cringe writing this now because here I am. The kind of woman I swore I wasn't. A liar, a cheater, the exact kind of villain in those men's stories. I guess I should back up a bit. When I met my ex-husband, we were both in our late 20s. I was working in sales for a huge pharmaceutical company. He was the artsy one, the creative one, a graphic designer who did both freelance and agency work. He had this quiet confidence about him. Not the loudest guy in the room, but the one you noticed if you paid attention. I loved that about him. We were different, but we clicked. We dated for a couple of years, lived together for another, then got married. Honestly, our marriage wasn't bad. We didn't fight all the time. We had our ups and downs like everyone else, but I wouldn't say it was a disaster. If anything, we were pretty normal. But then 2020 happened. The world shut down. And suddenly, the walls of our condo started to feel like a prison. I'm a people person. I like going out, meeting clients, grabbing drinks, socializing. Being forced inside made me restless. I started feeling trapped, suffocated, like my life was on pause. And while I know so many people went through the same thing, for me, it was like something cracked open. Something in me changed. Instead of leaning on my husband, instead of saying, "Hey, I'm struggling," I grew distant. I distracted myself with online shopping, wine nights with coworkers over Zoom, anything to feel alive again. And when the world started opening back up, instead of being grateful to have my husband by my side, I felt this pull, like I needed more, like I had been missing out. Here's where I made the mistake that destroyed everything. I didn't tell him how I felt. I didn't say, "I'm restless, I'm unhappy, I need something to change." I just smiled, went through the motions, and secretly started looking elsewhere. By this point, he wasn't listening to those SoundCloud stories anymore. He had gotten busier with work, and honestly, so had I. We were both on autopilot, but I carved out time for something else. I carved out time to see if I still had it. That was the phrase that kept running through my mind. Could I still catch someone's attention? Did I still matter outside of being someone's wife? I told myself it was harmless, just a little flirting here and there, but deep down, I knew I was cracking open a door that should have stayed shut. Then I met him. It was during my lunch break. I went to a coffee shop not far from my office. I was standing in line, scrolling my phone, when I noticed him ahead of me. Tall, dark, handsome, perfectly put together. You know the type. Expensive watch, crisp shirt, shoes that looked like they cost more than my car payment. He had this aura like he was important. I don't know how it happened exactly, but we ended up talking. He made a comment about the long line. I laughed, and suddenly we were eating together. Conversation flowed easily. He asked about me, and when I mentioned I was married, he barely blinked. He leaned in, smiled, and said, "I don't care if you're married. I want you." Something about that confidence, that aggression, hooked me instantly. My husband had never been like that. He was more reserved, more thoughtful. But this man, he was bold, direct, dangerous. And instead of running away, I leaned in. One lunch turned into calling off work that same day. We ended up back at his place, or at least what I thought was his place. I forgot I was married, literally forgot. There was no guilt, no hesitation, nothing. I was alive. That's how it felt. Alive. Looking back, that was the beginning of the end. I thought I was being subtle at home, that I wasn't acting different. But my husband noticed immediately. He called me out on being distant, on checking my phone constantly, on smiling at texts. He noticed when I dressed differently for work. I denied. I even gaslighted him a little, saying he was paranoid. God, I hate admitting that. But eventually, the truth came out. He woke me up one night, holding my phone. His voice was steady but cold. "Who is he? The guy you've been texting? The guy you've been sneaking off to see?" My stomach dropped. That was the moment guilt finally hit me. That was the moment I thought, what have I done? I wanted to save my marriage, so I thought honesty was the best policy. I confessed. I told him I had been having an affair. I even told him the man was married too. I expected tears, maybe yelling, maybe even a chance to go to counseling. Instead, he looked at me, stone-faced, and said, "Okay, we're done." That was it. No screaming, no crying, just done. And when I say he never spoke to me again, I mean it. Not a single word. Not through texts, not through emails, not in court, nothing. He cut me off completely, like I never existed. I heard one of your stories recently where a woman said her ex-husband ignoring her was the worst part. And I know exactly what she means. I would rather eat a bug, swallow nails, anything, than go through that silence. That cold, endless silence. It ate me alive. After he served me with divorce papers, I tried to fight back. I got a lawyer. I even tried to get the judge to order marriage counseling, thinking maybe if we were forced to sit in the same room, we could fix things. But the judge denied it. Just like that, I was divorced and alone. And it gets worse. The man I ruined my marriage for, he wasn't who I thought he was. Turns out that apartment we used to meet at wasn't even his. It belonged to his colleague who let him borrow it whenever his wife got suspicious. Yes, wife. He had one. With kids. I found out because one day I got sick. Really sick. I went to the doctor and found out I had an STD. The same one his wife had. He gave it to both of us. When I confronted him, he shrugged, said I knew the risks, and told me not to contact him again. I ended up talking to his wife. She told me this wasn't the first time. He had cheated on her multiple times with multiple women, and yet she said she'd never leave him because of the kids. She had accepted her life. Me, I was left with nothing. No husband, no affair partner, just shame. And here's the truth. I miss my ex-husband every single day. I regret everything. I replay our last conversation in my head over and over. That "okay, we're done" echoes in my mind. I would give anything to go back and undo what I did, but I can't. So that's my story. I don't know what you'll think of it or what your audience will think. Maybe they'll hate me. Maybe they'll say I deserve everything I got. And honestly, they'd be right. But I wanted to share because maybe somewhere another woman who feels trapped or restless will hear this and stop herself before she throws her life away like I did. Life after ruining my marriage, I'm struggling. Hello. True story. It's Tamarin again. I don't even know where to begin this follow-up because honestly, writing to you the first time felt like ripping open a wound I'd been trying to stitch shut with a flimsy thread. But maybe that's the point. Maybe I need to let it bleed out, to sit in the truth instead of pretending I've got everything under control. Because I don't. I'm barely hanging on most days. When I ended my last email, I shared how I destroyed my marriage, lost my husband, and got played by the man I risked it all for. That was painful enough to admit, but the part I didn't go into was what came after. And that's what I want to share now. Because life after a divorce, especially one caused by your own betrayal, doesn't just snap into place. It crumbles slowly and painfully, and the stress of it all has me drowning. I'll say this up front. I need help. Financially, emotionally, mentally, I need help. And admitting that is humiliating. But humiliation has been my constant companion since the divorce, so here I am, laying it all out again. The stress that never ends. When the divorce papers were finalized, I thought there'd be some kind of relief, like ripping off a Band-Aid. Painful, yes, but then it's over. Instead, it was like watching dominoes fall, one after another, and realizing I couldn't stop any of them. First, there was the move. I went from our condo, which felt warm and homey, even when we were fighting, to a one-bedroom apartment that feels like a shoebox. I hate it here. The walls are thin. I can hear my neighbors arguing through them, and the plumbing makes noises at night that keep me awake. I'm paying more in rent than we ever did with our mortgage, and it eats at me every single month. Then there's the job. I'm still in pharmaceutical sales, and people assume that means big money, but the truth is, it's a grind. My commissions tanked during the pandemic and haven't fully bounced back. I'm expected to wine and dine doctors, travel to clinics, be on all the time. And meanwhile, my stress level is through the roof. I'm working longer hours than ever just to keep up with bills that used to feel manageable when there were two incomes. The bills pile up in ways you don't think about when you're married. 2 cars, 2 insurances, 1 Netflix account, split in half. It all seemed so easy before. Now it's just me, and I feel like I'm sinking every month. The financial reality. Let me talk about the money, because this is where I'm really struggling. When we were together, we were comfortable. Not rich, but comfortable. We split things, we saved, we planned. Now, I have debt climbing higher and higher because divorce isn't just emotional, it's financial devastation. Lawyer fees alone wiped out what little savings I had. Then came the medical bills from when I had to get tested and treated after the affair partner gave me an STD. That was thousands gone. Add in moving costs, deposits, new furniture. I feel like I'm constantly starting from zero. I've maxed out 1 credit card and I'm dangerously close on the second. Every time I swipe, I feel this pit in my stomach. I used to love shopping, used to see it as retail therapy. Now it just feels like a reminder of how deep I've buried myself. And here's the worst part. I don't have anyone to fall back on. My parents aren't in a position to help financially. My friends, well, most of them distanced themselves after the divorce because people always pick sides and I was the cheater. I don't blame them, but it leaves me isolated. The stress on my body. The stress has taken a physical toll, too. I barely sleep. When I do, I dream about my ex-husband, him walking away, Him looking at me with that blank face, him never saying another word. I wake up drenched in sweat, my heart pounding. I've gained weight, lost it, gained it back. My hair is thinning from stress. I grind my teeth at night so badly that I had to get a mouth guard. My doctor says my blood pressure is high for my age. I'm 34 and I feel like I've aged 10 years since the divorce. And the drinking, I hate admitting this, but wine has become my crutch. Not every night, but enough that I notice. Enough that I catch myself saying, just one glass to relax, and then finishing the whole bottle. It's a slippery slope and I know it. Loneliness that eats at me. The loneliness is its own kind of torture. When you're married, even if things aren't perfect, there's someone there. Someone to eat dinner with, watch a show with, fight over the thermostat with. Now I sit in silence. I tried dating, but it's been a disaster. I carry too much guilt, too much baggage. I go on dates, smile, laugh, pretend I'm okay, but inside, I'm screaming. No one measures up to my ex, and I know it's because I don't actually want anyone else. I just want him, and I can't have him. Even friendships feel different. Married friends look at me with pity. Single friends don't really get it. I'm in this weird limbo where I don't belong anywhere. My lowest point. I hit my lowest point a few months ago when I got a notice that my electricity was about to be shut off. Me, the woman who used to have it all together, who used to walk into doctor's offices in heels and a tailored blazer, confident and in control, reduced to sitting on the floor crying over a shut-off notice. I called my ex's number, even though I knew he wouldn't answer. I don't know what I expected. Maybe I thought he'd feel pity, or maybe I just wanted to hear his voicemail, but the number was disconnected. That broke me. He had erased me completely. Why I'm writing again, so why am I writing this? Because I don't know where else to turn. I've been carrying this alone, and it's crushing me. I don't expect your audience to feel sorry for me. I know most will probably say, you made your bed, now lie in it. And they're right. But I also know I can't keep living like this. The stress is killing me. The financial hole is getting deeper. The loneliness is unbearable. I don't know if I'm asking for advice or just someone to hear me out. Maybe I'm asking for both. Maybe I'm asking for someone to remind me that even women who make the worst mistakes don't deserve to completely fall apart. Final thoughts. Every morning I wake up with this heavy knot in my chest. I go through the motions, work, bills, dinner, bed, but it all feels hollow. I used to be proud of myself, proud of my life. Now I feel like a cautionary tale. I ruined my own marriage and I thought the punishment would just be losing my husband. I didn't realize the punishment would be losing myself. So here I am, reaching out again. Not because I think writing this fixes anything, but because maybe if I say it all out loud, or in this case, write it all down, I won't feel so crushed under the weight of it. Thank you for listening.